this on. Okay, there we go.
Hello, and welcome to Earth Day Live, our ongoing broadcast series featuring conversations with leaders driving environmental solutions.
Exactly.
I'm James Banks. I'm the Global Advocacy Partnership Director for EarthDay.org. With Earth Day just a few weeks away, millions of people will take actions at thousands of events around the world. This year's theme, Our Power, Our Planet, emphasizes our power to work together toward a sustainable and equitable future. Today, in partnership with ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, we're joined by 3 mayors from across the United States who are advancing practical, community-driven climate solutions that deliver results that strengthen local economies.
I can't hear anything.
Public health, and build resilience.
I can't hear James if he's speaking.
Our first panelist is Mayor Van Johnson of Savannah, Georgia. Mayor Van Johnson is the 67th mayor of Savannah, Georgia, where he serves as the city's chief executive and presides over the city council. A longtime public servant, he represents Savannah's 1st district as an alderman for 16 years before becoming mayor, focusing on equity and community-centered leadership. Nationally, he serves as the president of the African American Mayors Association, first vice president of the National League of Cities, and was recently appointed to ICLEI's USA Board of Directors. Next, we have Mayor Patricia Locke Dawson. She is a Riverside native. She's serving her 2nd term as the mayor of Riverside, California. A longtime public servant, environmental advocate, she brings decades of experience across federal and local and private sector roles, including extensive work in ecology with the Department of the Interior. As mayor, she served to advance Riverside's clean and green tech hub, positioning the city as a center for sustainability-driven economic development. She currently chairs the California Big City Mayors Coalition. She serves on the board of ICLEI USA, the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, and the California Air Resource Board. And finally, we have Mayor Beach Pace. She is the 51st mayor of Hillsboro, Oregon. She previously served as the Hillsboro City Council and chaired the Transportation Committee, bringing a strong focus on community-centered leadership. She is the city's first LGBTQAI+ mayor and 2nd woman to hold the office. Her background spans public service, the private sector, nonprofit leadership, including service in the U.S. Army Bomb Squad, and her current role as CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Portland. With that, let's turn to our panelists and hear how the work that they're doing is shaping their cities. Mayor Johnson, I'm going to start with you. Savannah faces growing risk for sea level rises and flooding. What resilience projects or policies are helping protect your historic low-lying neighborhoods?
Well, thank you, James. I appreciate the opportunity to be on also with these 2 distinguished mayors. I appreciate the opportunity and hello from sunny and almost hot Savannah, Georgia today. We're expecting to finally be somewhere in the 90s. What attracts people to Savannah is also what our challenge is. It's a beautiful community, but we're also low-lying community. We're very, very close to water. And so our culture and our economy is deeply tied to our coastal geography and our historic neighborhoods. So resilience is mission critical for us. We've been taking a proactive approach that involves investing in stormwater infrastructure upgrades, advancing drainage improvement projects, and integrating resilience about how we plan and develop across the city. We recognize that over the years, some cities have been affected. I mean, some neighborhoods have been affected, but some neighborhoods have been more affected than others. So we make sure that we are baking in equitable practices in terms of how we do the work, making sure that those who need the help get the help first. Most importantly, we're making sure that no one is left behind in this work as we strengthen our infrastructure. From the city of Savannah's perspective, resilience means for us not only protecting our cultural significantly sites and the economy, but making sure that we're protecting people and making sure that we protect the culture that defines us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Dawson, Riverside is entering the next phase of its climate action plan. How has the public input shaped it, and how will you build on your 2026 plan?
So thank you for the question, and thank you for asking me to be here today and talking about these important topics. Southern California is at the really at the I think ground zero for climate change for heat. Actually, my city has extreme heat events, and so that's something we're battling. But one way we're doing that is through our climate action and adaptation plan. We had our first one in 2016, and that really set the course for us to flourish the way we have. And so we've accomplished many of the goals we set in that initial 2016 document. But in order to make sure we're effective, public engagement is probably the biggest key to that. So that's really at the heart of the development of the plan. We've had really robust community outreach. It's something we do here in Riverside quite well. Actually, some might argue a little too much sometimes, but we've had over 36 events that we've done outreach and had over 4,000 comments received. And just to give folks an idea of what a climate action adaptation plan is, it's got, we do a greenhouse gas inventory, we do projections, interim, and carbon neutrality targets. Those are all part of it. And some of the common themes that came up with our public are air quality. We have issues here with air quality in Riverside, particularly intersections with greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation is probably the biggest contributor to greenhouse gas. So what are we doing about that? Our natural working lands, how we're using agriculture and tree canopies to help us address some of these issues. Housing, I think we're seeing more and more that housing is really a climate solution as we get more people off the street, and we make sure we are planning our housing so that transit and amenities are very close. Also promoting green tech jobs. We are a hub for clean and green tech, and doing more EV adoption, particularly in our city. We started with our own fleet first. We were named the greenest fleet in North America 2 years running. So that's really important to us, and we're encouraging more businesses to come in and do that sort of work here.
Great. Thank you. Mayor Pace, Hillsborough recently launched its first comprehensive climate action plan. How is it being shaped, and what is the next phase of your sustainability work?
Yeah. Thanks, James. I appreciate it. And thanks for the invite to be here today. I'm proud to be on this panel with these other amazing mayors. And to answer your question, there's a few things that we've been working on. We're addressing climate change in two ways. One is to reduce greenhouse gases, and the other is to help our community remain climate resilient. As the climate changes, we're trying to adapt to it. So the Climate Action Plan has actions and programs that our community members want. We've engaged, similar to the other mayors, we've engaged our community, and we're responding in ways that will help us deal with hotter summers, more intense storm events, et cetera. Wildfire, we have wildfire up here as well. A few years ago, we hit an all-time high of 117 degrees, which was shocking to everyone. We had Arizona temperatures in Oregon, which was unbelievable. So our goal is to make sure that we hit community emissions net zero by 2050. And the near-term plan includes dozens of actions led by our city departments and partners to ensure that we improve equitable outcomes for our city, and that we do our part to make sure that we support a sustainable community. So we have some initiatives. We've expanded our building permit fee exemption for clean energy technologies since 2006. Hillsborough's waived permit fees for renewable energy systems and electric vehicle charging stations. And we want to update this to extend to other technologies to help us further reduce greenhouse gases. And we're also encouraging building of smaller homes and in more dense neighborhoods. And so we're seeing that in South Hillsborough right now. If you Google us, you can see how we've changed that. We've gone from, a house with a huge yard to very compact houses put together. And it's more efficient that way. And we have affordable housing as well, that have 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments for multi-generational living. And we have on these affordable units, we have Earth Advantage Platinum certification. And we've preserved existing mature trees. We have garden beds, et cetera. And it's designed to bring the whole design of these affordable housing communities are designed to bring the community together in outdoor spaces. So those are just some examples of how we're building housing from market rate all the way to affordable housing, but all with the idea that we're, contributing to making our climate better.
Thank you so much. I believe we're having a bit of a technical difficulty right now, so I'm just going to continue to be off camera and continue with the interview. And you all three touched on this, and just in full transparency, I used to be a staffer for the mayor of Washington D.C., so I'm very familiar with all of the stresses and strains that you guys go through as a municipality. With that said, with fewer federal resources and state resources for that matter, what financing strategy or partnerships have you guys found to be most effective during sort of this very difficult time working with the federal government and its administration? I'll start with you, Mayor Johnson.
Well, I don't think that, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, I certainly think that for cities, it's been much more challenging working with our federal government. It's certainly been a lot more uncertain. It's brought on a bunch of challenges. And to that end, once the HB1 kind of kicks into gear, it's going to bring on, I think, a myriad of other challenges for cities as the federal government really pushes more towards cities and states and counties to provide services they historically provide. That being said, for us, climate resiliency doesn't only make environmental sense, it also makes financial sense. It is a smart financial decision for us. By making these investments now, we really are reducing the long-term costs that is associated with flooding and extreme heat and energy price volatility that's driven by extreme weather. Through our on-site city solar program across 27 of our city facilities, we have generated energy avoiding 2.8 million pounds of coal burned while achieving over $104,000 in utility savings in one year. And that's real savings, real money, and real budgets that we can use to fund other things. We've also invested $1.9 million in energy efficient upgrades across 29 facilities, including community centers and fire stations. And we're projecting that first year savings will be about $129,000 guaranteed. These are real measurable costs. These are real measurable savings that help us to lower our operating costs. It helps us to create more resilient and stronger public facilities and provides a long-term value for our taxpayers. And more importantly, we're really focused on making sure that residents benefit as well. Again, we don't want to leave anybody behind. So we continue to expand access to cleaner energy, partnerships that support energy affordability, workplace opportunities in growing sectors like solar and sustainability. Historically, this has been kind of reserved for the rich, the famous, the geeky. No, we want to make sure that grandma in our West Savannah neighborhoods is able to have an advantage to use this as well.
Great, thank you. Mayor Dawson.
I love it that Mayor Johnson's worrying about his grandmas. That's awesome. That's our job, right? I do think in California, we not only in Riverside do we value sustainability, but so does our entire state. And I feel very fortunate that I have a governor who, regardless of what goes on at the federal level, actually has provided funding for all sorts of programs, and also mandates for electric vehicles, which is, I think, important both in fleets as well as in our city and other places. But I think the question was, what are we doing in the absence of federal funding, was kind of what it is. I don't know that we've ever been that dependent on federal funding. We have several of our own funds that we have that come through this state. There was a bill passed several years ago, AB 1890, that takes money out of our public utilities bill. We own our own utility, and it's establishes a public benefit fund, and that money has to be spent on various categories of sustainability projects. So this last year, we just were meeting to talk about how we were going to spend $34 million out of that fund on various projects. We get funds through the California Air Resources Board. We get for transitioning to vehicles. We get funds through the Southern California Air Quality Management District. And we also received a transformative climate communities grant, and that is reimagining an entire neighborhood on the east side of our city. And we worked with community groups to plant 2,000 trees, install solar on 100 homes for low-income single-family homeowners, and remove and replace approximately 100,000 square feet of grass with water-wise landscaping. So we have the whole gamut of things. And I'm proud to say too, just because I'll get a plug in for ICLEI, we just received we were, I think, the only municipality in the state of California to receive a municipal investment fund from ICLEI, and we received money from that. So it's the panoply of funding sources that we bring to bear in all of these things. It's just, you have to be intentional, and it has to be a priority.
Mayor Pace?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We are, I'll get political. We are a blue state, and we are not, we're getting cut on some funding. So we have been successful in getting grant funding for projects to help preserve our natural areas and our parks, to provide shade and support clean air and water. We have a sustainability revolving fund from our energy savings to support city departments to reduce energy use. We also have received grants and rebates, which have been really helpful to help expand electric vehicles in our fleet, and EV charging stations in our community. And we've received some past federal grants to help update our buildings as far as the climate control, so we use less energy.
Great. Mayor Johnson, again, in full transparency, not Savannah's, but my mother is actually from the Low Country in Charleston, South Carolina. So I'm very familiar with the flooding aspects of that particular area. And I understand that Savannah has framed climate action as a fiscal responsibility. How is that investment of lowering costs in the long term and improving affordability, how do you see that directly affecting your residents?
Well, I think it starts with not only leadership, it's totally embedded in our strategic plan. It creates opportunities for us to be able to set this as a managerial goal, to bake it into the culture of our organization. Again, from, as you well know, from June 1st to November 30th of each year, we are literally on pins and needles, particularly when you get toward September and October. We're always very, very concerned because, as our friends in neighborhood communities found out last year, in 2024, one disaster, they're still cleaning up and still trying to get back to where they were from that time. We're blessed to be relatively unscathed from that. But it requires us to continue to keep preparing, to continue to invest in the front end. We have a 100% Savannah plan, which is to not only transition all of our electricity uses to renewable energy by 2035, but to really be able to talk about it. Again, to my colleagues who live in states that are a lot more progressive, a lot more accepting of the responsibilities that we face. We have not faced an uphill battle, but certainly not as easy as it could be to be able to make sure that our residents, our city, our region is prepared when those times come.
Mayor Dawson, you just spoke about this briefly when you were doing your introduction. Riverside has seen extreme heat. In fact, the last time I was in Riverside, California, it was the day that the fires were going on, and I had to. Though you have a lovely building, I was told to get out and go to LAX as quickly as possible. With that extreme heat, with the fear of environmental devastations, what strategies do you think are proving most helpful, and how are those strategies protecting residents?
I'm not sure why they told you to go to LAX, but I don't know why that happened. But Riverside, like every other city, I think around the world, we are doing a few things. One was in September of 2025, we launched our very first heat summit, and we brought together practitioners, residents, the university, the academic community, and talked about strategies for combating extreme heat. And some of those things are pretty obvious. We did this heat summit. We did a 2-day tabletop exercise, and one of the things that kept coming up consistently was the need for messaging. People were not aware of the dangers of heat illness, and also just how do we get that word out. But some of the things that we know combat are ensuring that our impermeable surfaces are not reflecting heat back up, that we're trying to keep our surfaces cool, our roofs, our streets, our pavement, our concrete, planting more trees. We're very fortunate to live in a city that has a lot of trees, and ensuring that we lower our heat island, transitioning to clean fleets. As we know, greenhouse gases are one of the biggest, or transportation is one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas. And just making sure that we are cognizant of the risk of fire. And that's been a big thing, right? That's I know Mayor Pace deals with this in Oregon as well, very much. But we've launched a FireWise community outreach program where we're teaching people how to reduce their exposure to wildfire with defensible space and other things, and incentives to do better plantings. So that's other than trying to combat the entire global climate crisis, that's what we're doing here locally.
Well, I'll take the lead off of Mayor Dawson. Mayor Pace, please feel free to speak about the in regards to what's going on in your community.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about the Hillsborough community, and actually the Hillsborough metro region, I've just dubbed it that, the Hillsborough metro region now, is that our community members will tell you, be very vocal about what they want specifically around the environment and climate change. And so I say that somewhat sarcastically, but I actually think it's great that they are so active and so into the fact, and they push on us, on the city, to make sure, not only the city, but the region and the state, to make sure that we are environmentally friendly. And so knowing that, we respond, obviously. And I'll give you some examples of what we've done in response to that. So our Civic Center was only the second municipal LEED Gold certified building commission in the US. That was back in 2006, so 20 years ago. So we were the second municipal building in the country, which is pretty great. And our community members asked for a development of a sustainability task force. And one of our city councilors serves on that task force to make sure that we have city council connection to that task force. And we do that through our community vision program to develop and track sustainability goals, conduct outreach, and promote sustainability business practices as well, including renewable energy. And in 2010, well, that's been since 2010. And then we've been in the #1 US EPA green power community for the voluntary purchase of green power since 2012. And this is, again, all, our community is pushing on us. And so I'm proud to say some of those things. We've also been using 100% renewable electricity for city operations since 2019. So, I feel like we're responding. We can always do more. Yeah, I could go on, but yeah, I just want to get that out right now.
I mean, it just sounds like all of you are just doing really amazing work in the sustainability space. And I guess that kind of leads me to my next question. And this will be one for everyone on the panel. You've all attracted sustainability industry into your area. Some of you have won awards because of that. What is the commitment that you ask from those industries to better your community within the individual spaces that they're working in? Mayor Johnson, I'll start with you.
Well, I think the first thing is, first of all, that you're intentional about our community, that you're not here just to simply make a dollar, that you're here to be able to educate. But secondly, that you are willing to embrace our entire community. And sometimes for some folks, that might be a little bit more challenging. It might be a distrust of technology. It might be a distrust of agency. It might be a distrust of a variety of things. But, we have to make sure that we leave no one behind. And so for us, that has been the overriding theme, that all means all. Equity is an intentional process for us, and that you are committed to reaching everyone, and that you leave the community better than you found it. And that could be in a variety of ways.
Mayor Dawson?
Yeah, thank you for that question. This is really important to me, as I think a huge part of our economy now is in the green tech sector and green transportation. The transition to clean transportation is important to me. So we've attracted 6 international manufacturing headquarters to the city of Riverside in the last 2 years alone. Companies that are doing things like hydrogen powered trains and electric vehicles. So these are manufacturers, and they're here in my city. One thing I like to tell them, though, it's not so much what they can do for us, it's what we can do for them. And I often say to them, when you choose Riverside, Riverside chooses you. We will make sure you're successful. So, for instance, we have a company here that's doing heavy duty truck manufacturing, Vol2, and they are like a Ford F-250, 350. And they're the only manufacturer of such a truck, I think, in North America. And they actually, I think George, the owner, would say in the world right now. But one of the things we did was when they came in, we agreed to buy 20 of their vehicles, right off the line, so that we could deploy them in our fleet to meet our fleet goals. The other thing we're doing is working very closely with UC Riverside, who's opened something called it's a Center for Opportunities for Advancement and Social Inclusion. And it's an incubator space that connects entrepreneurs with new ideas to venture capitalists, and then tries to deploy that and monetize it within the community. And generally, we work with them to have inclusive economic development on any business that comes in here. The hiring needs to be local, but it also has to be diverse. So that's something I think that might be unique to Riverside. I don't know, but I sure like working with them.
Mayor Pace?
Yeah, similar to Mayor Johnson and Mayor Dawson, we say, hey, welcome to the community. We love having you here, and listen to our community members. What can you do? And they've responded, and it's really interesting to see how they've responded. So, for example, we have a large Intel presence here in Hillsborough, about 18,000 employees with Intel, and they have used a lot of water. And so we went to them and talked to them about it, and now they recycle their water. So they're using it over and over instead of drawing down on our utility. We have data centers in Hillsborough, and that has become a controversial topic nationally, and I think globally as well. And so they are putting solar arrays on top of their data centers, so they're not pulling on our energy, on our power. Genentech has been here which is biopharma. They've been here for 50 years, and they have a huge solar array on top of their buildings and battery storage. And in general, the industrial sector uses a lot of renewable energy to help meet their corporate goals, because they have their own corporate goals as well. So those are just some of the things that our businesses have done to step up to meet the demands of our community.
I'm sorry, I've lost sound. I cannot hear anybody. I'm going to jump off and jump back on if you can hear me.
Okay. While we wait for...
While you mentioned that, I also wanted to just mention Savannah. We actually, right outside of our community, we received the largest investment by Hyundai outside of South Korea. So it's a massive Hyundai plant that will produce 500,000 electric vehicles a year. And so they are now in our community. It's the largest economic development project ever in the state of Georgia. And so for them coming here, for them, donating some of their cars for city use, really making sure that people recognize that electric cars are affordable, that they are attainable, they look good. And for us as a city now, trying to make sure we catch up to make sure that we have enough charging stations for all electrical vehicles that are coming here has, again, helped us to change our focus and help us be able to work better with industry to help to anticipate their needs as well.
I think that's tremendous, Mayor. I think it's tremendous what all of you are doing. All of you have spoken in some way about not leaving anyone behind.
I can't hear you. I don't know what's wrong with your mic. I can't hear if you're talking to me. I can hear that. Is somebody speaking?
Yes, I'm speaking.
Can anybody hear me?
Oh, I can. Yes,
I can
You
hear
can
you.
hear me.
I can hear
Mayor
you.
Pace, you can hear me? I cannot hear James. If he's speaking, he's asking me a question. I don't know.
I'm gonna jump off and jump back on and see if I can fix
No.
this technical issue.
James, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're speaking to me.
we can hear. Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. I can't hear him. You can hear it?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear him. Yeah.
I
That's
don't know
odd.
what's going on with this thing.
So
Let's
now
ask each other questions.
they have left us alone in the room without an adult. This is a very, very scary thing. No supervision whatsoever. Oh, James is back.
Oh yeah,
Now,
I can hear you now.
there we go.
I keep getting bumped off stage, and then I can't hear you, and then somebody will put me back on stage. I'm not touching it, so I don't know what's happening.
We live in a virtual world. So I apologize for any difficulties that seem to be going on. I'll make this an overarching question for all three of you. All of you have touched on this in some way within your answers about the equality aspects. Especially Mayor Johnson, you've spoken quite a bit about not having anybody left behind, and if that means going the extra mile and being able to explain, as you so eloquently said, making sure that the grandmothers know that this technology is out there and is existing, that you're willing to do so, and I'm sure all of you are. Can you give sort of specific examples of where that education has come into play, and then the adaptation of that education by folks that maybe had questions about it before it was introduced?
Well, I'll start. I mean, I think, for us, it was a couple of things. I mean, before we could ever talk about solar, we had to talk about weatherization. There were folks that had air coming in through their houses, energy consuming devices that consumed enormous amounts of energy. So before we could even get to the issues of solar, we had to get to the issues of weatherizing. And so for that, they were able to see immediate decreases in their energy bills just from weatherization. And then that helped them to see the benefit that, solarization brought. My mom in New York has solar now. I don't have solar. She got solar. And for her, I mean, her bill has dropped and she absolutely loves it. So what does she do? She talks to other seniors saying, hey, this really, really works. I don't know how it works, but I know it works. And then, when we're talking about times like now where we're facing an affordability crisis as it relates to everything. The last thing that people should have to worry about is whether their lights are going to be on, whether they're going to have cooling in the summer times, whether they're going to have heat in the winter times. And so this really helps to get people there. Now they want to know more because they want to find other ways to be able to save. And so it's a trust builder, it's a credibility builder, and it's really allowed us to kind of supercharge our efforts as it relates to other types of energy saving and sustainability products.
Mayor Dawson?
Yeah, I mean, we're really fortunate in that we own our own public utility here in Riverside. So we have the benefit of being able to communicate with our residents via their utility bills. So since December of 2024, we've done 112,000 utility bill inserts, just telling people about our programs and getting their input. But specifically on the topic of inclusion and helping our residents, we launched something called our SHARE program last year, which is Sharing Households Assist Riverside's energy program. Residents can sign up for one-time donations. They can round up their bill. They can have a recurring flat donation on their bill to contribute to this program. And this fund assists eligible households. And it serves an average of 5,900 of our customers each month. We're a city of 330,000. So that's helped our residents with their utility costs. But we've also done our own savings on our own end too. And over the last 4.5 years, via various programs that we've launched, we've saved over 106 million gallons, almost 107 million gallons of water. We've supported 2,577 customers to participate in our water efficiency programs. We give them sprinklers and shower heads and those kinds of things. And we've expended about $1.9 million on those water efficiency programs across the city. So people are taking advantage of them, deploying those within their own homes. And then also we're helping to get to our customers not just the utility bills, but through our social media, email, and lots of other ways. So very robust outreach, very robust engagement, and seeing results because of that.
Mayor Pace.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have a pretty significant community engagement program as well. And I'll start with the basics. So we send a newsletter pretty much quarterly, if not more frequent, out to every single household in Hillsborough. So it's actually, you could see it, you could hold it. There's no technology barrier to it. And you could see what's going on. And it tells people what's going on for the whole city, but it includes our work in climate action. And we also work closely with community-based organizations to help us with community education. And by the way, those mailers can also, on the bottom, there's QR codes, and you can get it translated into several different languages. So it's accessible that way. We also work with community-based organizations to help with community education. We partner with nonprofits, utilities, public agencies to get the word out about strategies for climate resiliency and to connect people with incentives to help upgrade their homes for energy efficiency. We've also centered the voices of community-based organizations to develop a city-funded program for homeowners and renters who need assistance upgrading their home to use less energy and improve comfort. So we have a free assessment that's provided by a community-based organization for income qualified people. And it's called the Home Energy Score. That's the assessment. And then any repairs are provided at no cost to those folks. And whole home energy retrofits are a reality. We do that, which is, I think, pretty great. And we do that by braiding funding resources together. And we're currently focused on expanding outreach opportunities to reach more residents. And we're also working on this program as a model to share with other cities as well. So.
Again, I think it's absolutely tremendous what each and every one of you are doing with your constituency, with your residents, with bringing in the technology and being able to educate and explain so that it is, as Mayor Johnson said, word of mouth is always the best form of advertising, and getting the specifics out there. We're kind of at the tail end of this conversation, so I want to open the floor a little bit to you as mayors, and give you a little time to be able to speak about what's most important to you in the sustainability space, and how is that going to lead your administration's through this Earth Week and Earth Month?
Well, I can go first if you'd like me to. I mean, for me, one of my highest priorities has been to transform our regional economy here, transform our local economy. And that's why we're attracting so many manufacturers of clean, zero and low emission vehicles, because we have our university here that supports that research. We've got the California Air Resources Board here in my city, which regulates those types of vehicles. And then the city supports it through our various policies. So I do think, for me, transforming that is such a huge part of our greenhouse gas emissions, is our internal combustion engines and vehicles. So trying to change that, I get to help my economy as well as my air quality. And I think it was Mayor Johnson at the beginning said, what's good for the environment is good for the economy. Agreed. I think that's a false choice to pit those two things together. I think they both rise, and we help our constituents at the same time.
I'll jump in. I think as I think about my mayoral legacy, we often think about it in terms of buildings. We think about it in terms of streets. We think about it in terms of centers of community and centers of commerce. The reality is that the legacy is going to be the one that helped to keep the city still here. At the end of the day, the buildings mean nothing. The economic centers mean nothing. The streets mean nothing if nobody's living on them. And so for me, it has shifted a little bit about really making sure that we have a city that is here for people to enjoy. And so that sometimes made me the bad guy in terms of the days of sun yelling about the days of rain. The days of calm for me yelling about days of wind. The days of calm rivers for me talking about storm level rise. The days of relatively warm talking about days of excessive heat. But I want my legacy to be that not only that I told you so, but we also created ways and pathways for people to be able to know better and do better. And that could be from the oldest members of our community to the youngest, that we're teaching them a better way to grow up, not to be as hard-headed as our generation was, where we're doing reverse work. We want them to grow up with sustainability and resiliency as a way of life, in terms of the products that they use, in terms of the habits that they have. And we want them to be able to grow up and being able to really take care of Mother Earth. I think when we looked at Artemis 2 this past week, we just recognized what a precious resource we have in Mother Earth. And we only have one. We're not all going to Mars, and we're certainly not going to the moon. And so we have to treat it as it's the resource that it is.
Yeah. I love these answers. Can I just say ditto? I think, you were talking about how we're going to continue this week and this month. And we don't stop. It's not limited to just this week and this month. It's all the time. And something I'm proud of is that we have something called a Youth Advisory Council. Many cities have a Youth Advisory Council. And so we've engaged them in this work as well. And for example, a few years ago, they led the charge to ban plastic bags in Hillsborough. And it was so successful, they brought it to the state and it went statewide. So something I'm proud of is that the city has engaged youth in this process as we're working on sustainability and climate action. And so I just wanted to say that they're very invested in this work because it's their future as well. And in addition to that, we've spent several years on our climate action plan, engaging meaningfully, not only with the community, but with youth as well. They're part of the community, and talking to people about how we can find solutions to impact climate change. And the plan incorporated from our community partners, tribal nations, local and global corporations, public agencies, and as I mentioned, youth, in our community stakeholder workshops and public outreach has been key. And by the way, all of that outreach has been bilingual at minimum, sometimes trilingual, et cetera. And so we're going to be strategic in how we implement this plan over the next couple of decades. And we're focused on community livability, climate resilience, and make sure that we can fight this heat, wildfires, and the rainstorms. And finally, the restoration work that we've done to help protect and preserve our natural spaces is really important as well to help our community endure and thrive.
Well, thank you all for joining earthday.org in this conversation. It has been incredibly thoughtful the way that you guys have approached this and the way that you approach the work that you're doing within your individual communities. I wish you the best of success and the continued success that you already have. I'd like to thank Mayor Dawson, Mayor Pace, Mayor Johnson for their time today. I'd also like to thank ICLEI for supporting us with this particular project. And if I may, as a guy who has not been in your individual offices, but has been in those offices before, I'm always reminded by what my mayor once told me, is that we have 3 jobs to do today, James. The first thing we have to do is we have to make sure the lights come on. The second thing we have to do is make sure the trash is picked up. And the third thing we have to do is make sure that everyone's safe. It sounds like all 3 of you are doing that kind of work every day. So you should be commended for the progress that your individual municipalities have made. Thank you guys again for your time. And hopefully we can rejoin this conversation and hear a little bit more about the work that you're doing later on.
Thank you. Thanks. Have a great day. Happy Earth Day, everyone.
Happy Earth Day.